Hello, and welcome to Powerful Places Podcasts. I'm your host, Gary White, and today we'll hear a conversation with Elyn and me about our walk on the Camí de Sant Jaume in Catalonia. This podcast is available either in audio form or with video, so take your pick and let's get started. How is it that we find ourselves back on the Camino again?
Sometimes I wonder if we're ever off the Camino.
Well, apparently we're not.
No, when we first moved back to Spain this time 4 years ago, we were living in Sagunt de Campos, that is directly on the Camino de Santiago. And it's where I lived in 1982 when I first came to Spain and did my research on the Camino. And our apartment was right off the plaza this time, and
all the pilgrims came through
and sat below our apartment.
That's right.
Eating or drinking coffee outside, and then we moved to
Girona, which you wouldn't think we were on the Camino still.
And we didn't know that we were.
And we didn't know. That's
until
right.
About a month and a half ago, when I was going to this Saturday market and they were having Volunteers Day, and I stopped at a booth for the Association of the Friends of the Camino de Santiago in Girona, called the Asociación des Amics de Camí de Sant Jaume en Girona, because the Camino de Santiago is called Camí de Sant Jaume in Catalonia, in Catalan. Mm-hmm. And I asked them where the route went, and they said, well, in Girona it goes right down Carino, and Carino is where our apartment is.
Right outside our door,
so
still.
There you are. Always on the Camino.
Always on the Camino.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when we first came to Girona, we were on Calle de la Forza, and that's the Camino also.
Yes, it is. It's the old Roman road, and it goes by the cathedral, and the pilgrims would have gone up to the cathedral in their journey, and then down that narrow medieval cobblestone path.
So
always on the Camino.
Always on the Camino. Yeah. Can't get away from it. We've done this time in a way that is really unpilgrim-like, wouldn't you say? I mean, the way we've chosen to do this
to do the pilgrimage,
is by using the local bus system. We started at our door and walked out to Sal, which is just the next little town down the road, and took the city bus back that day.
Yes, the Camí de Sant Jaume in this part of Catalonia, it's a reconstructed route, unlike the French way, the main Camino de Santiago across northern Spain. In Catalonia, there weren't really any thoroughly organized routes in the Middle Ages, and people just sort of came. And there's some roads they think were more likely than others. Mm-hmm. But they've basically constructed walking trails and biking trails. And there's something called the Via Verde, or the Greenway, which has been made from the old narrow-gauge train right-of-way and turned into a hiking, walking, bicycling path.
Which is a really smooth route, because
lovely.
It's a railroad right away, and it's all engineered to be very very gradual up and down.
Right, and that's the route that we picked up just on the edge of Girona. We walked down Carino to the Devesa Park, and then picked up the Greenway, and it parallels, but it's in from the highway and the bus service. So it's really quite lovely. You're walking through attractive fields and
the local gardens all along the way,
and then forested areas, and it's very pretty. And then what we've been doing is sort of getting off the Greenway, or the Camí de Sant Jaume, walking a little ways into the nearest town where the bus stops, and finding the bus stop, having lunch, and
traveling
right
back to
home.
Jerusalem.
And then a few days later, depending on the weather and our workload, we have taken the bus back to where we stopped walking,
Right.
gotten back on the Greenway, walked again.
And found ourselves out in an area where we had friends. So we actually walked with Leslie and Paul for a day.
We
or
did
actually
that twice.
2 days.
We did that
yes.
twice, yeah.
So it is a very civilized way, I would say, of doing the Camí de Sant Jaume. It's not without its challenges.
Well, we've run into them because
Right.
we have now reached the end. Several stages ago, we reached the end of the Greenway and the Camí de Sant Jaume, and the Camí now heads back down towards the town of Vic, and then to Manresa, and then to Montserrat. And the part of the route that we now have been following doesn't have the bus service.
And it doesn't have the train line.
Right. So we had to figure out a different technique.
Right. But as long as the Greenway lasted, it was really
Really slick.
really slick and pretty.
Yes.
Beautiful areas that we walked through. You've been wanting to get out in the woods, and here we are. We've been in the woods. It's great.
The Val d'en Bas, it's called, the Valley d'en Bas, that is also known apparently as the Switzerland of Catalonia.
Yeah.
It's got some pretty steep climbs.
There are a few climbs in there that.
In fact, the next stretch we were going to walk, we were advised by Jaume, who's not Santiago, not St. James the Greater, but the president of the local association of Friends of the Camino de Santiago, that we would be very badly advised if we tried to walk the next about 10-mile stretch up into the mountains, because at this time of year the trail is pretty wet and slippery with fallen leaves, and
We might
not
have
a good
snow.
thing. We might have snow, so we did another unpilgrimy thing, and following his advice, we skipped that part.
Skipped a section.
Mm-hmm.
But walking along with our friends, the last day we walked with Les and Paul, we walked past this, what appeared to be a small chapel in the countryside, and turns out to be a B&B, a Casa Rural, as they say.
Well, actually, it's La Rectoria. It's the rectory building next to I think 12th century church that is a very small church, like a chapel. And it turns out that a Scotsman who's trained professionally as a chef named Roy, and his wife, Goretti, who's a Catalan woman who knows a lot about single
malt whiskeys.
Worked in the business for a while. They renovated a dilapidated rectory and have turned it into just a lovely country guest house with fantastic dinners.
Oh yes, Roy is a real cook. He is amazing. And it's mostly local product that he's
tries
sourcing.
to source locally.
But lovely couple. They have a small boy who's just a sweetie. But they agreed to pick us up at the end of the day, deliver us the next day. So we had 2 nights with them, and lovely, almost gourmet meals, I would say.
Well, I wouldn't say almost.
Right, they were really special.
Yeah.
So you can see that this is really roughing it, as I say. We had this lovely queen-sized bed in this reconstructed old rectory, but it's all ultra-modern. And,
yeah.
And
it's slate, isn't it, in the bathroom?
yes.
Slate
And
countertops
tiles, yeah.
and tile floor and wonderful white thick plaster walls and the antique wood beams that were there in the original building, hundreds and hundreds of years old. They've done just a gorgeous reconstruction of the place.
And here we are, pilgrims, roughing it, sleeping
rough.
You
have to ask, though. I mean, listen, there's a serious moral issue here, I guess, about what makes a pilgrim and what makes a pilgrimage.
Right.
And I don't buy into you have to suffer to make it worthwhile, but there is certainly the intention as a minimum. And I have felt called to go on the Camino for a long time and didn't know how we were going to do this or where we were going to do it. And when we found that the Camí went right by our door, I said, this is it, we're going. And we just started walking.
And these last 2 days have not been without their own challenges.
That's true. We got
thoroughly lost the first of the 2 days. And we were walking along, and I started seeing that the terrain was going down very sharply, both on our right and left. And I knew that we were coming out to a point, and we were in an area of gorges. They were beautiful, but we were out on a point, and we had obviously lost our way and had to retrace our steps.
We were following, we thought, a marked route, but it turns out that there's all this code. You see these signs, and you go, well, what is it? Is this the route we're supposed to be on? What does this sign mean? So it turned out, we finally figured out later, we were following a BTT trail, which is mountain bikes.
Mountain bike.
And they might have been fine walking 35, riding 35 or 40 kilometers on a circular trail from who knows where to where, but it wasn't our intention to walk that far.
And we were really foot weary by the time we got to the end of that one. I was practically stumbling. And then yesterday, much shorter way, but we immediately lost our trail.
Yeah, as I kept saying, we weren't lost. We knew exactly where we were. We were walking down the side of a highway with no shoulder, going from where we were, from Roda de Ter to Vic.
Right, with big trucks going by.
Right, and what was supposed to be 9 kilometers, so about, I don't know, maybe a 6-mile walk, got longer as we took a side road to try to catch up with the Camí, and finally found it, and then got lost as soon as we got into Vic, and asked directions for the Plaza Mayor, and
got directed up to the top of the hill and back down. And the entire day, a stiff wind right in our face the entire day. I was wearing a hat, and I couldn't keep this hat on my head, and so we had this really stiff, cold wind coming at us almost the entire time we were out yesterday.
Yeah, I found out this morning that yesterday flights were canceled in various parts of Spain because of the high winds. So I guess, luckily, we had our feet on the ground and we're walking the Camí. And
right. But then we go back and have a lovely gourmet meal in the evening.
At the La Rectoria de San Miquel de Pineda, right near San Feliu de Payeros.
So that's where we are, about halfway
to Montserrat.
To Montserrat. And we're beginning to plot our way from there on, and it looks like it's going to have its challenges as well. Again,
because the first stage from Vic, going south towards Manresa, is about 20 plus kilometers, so maybe, I'm not sure, 14, 15 miles.
Uphill.
Some of it uphill. And it doesn't look like there's any easy way to get picked up partway along the route if we needed to be. And I don't know, we'll have to see how we do it. I guess our sacrifice that makes this more of a pilgrimage is trying to figure out how to do this.
Right.
But I'll get back to that that question. I mean, to me, it's not we're not just hiking.
No, there's a
sense of purpose. There's an intention.
Right. Our immediate goal, of course, is Our Lady of Montserrat.
Oh, the Black Madonna. She's
Montserrat.
So beautiful.
She's the patron saint of Catalonia. And Montserrat is at the top of a mountain you would not believe, even though the trail is labeled as easy.
I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know what they're thinking about, because it's almost straight up, it looks to me like.
Well, maybe it's because it's... we've run into this before. They say it's easy because it's a surface, a smooth surface.
Right.
They're not paying any attention to the angle of elevation.
Yes.
It's easy because it's not rocks that you're scrambling over.
Right. As they say, it's flat. Maybe a 45-degree angle, but it's flat.
Right. Flat being smooth. Yeah, there's one word in Spanish and that sometimes gets translated as both. So.
Right. Well, I guess this is a continuing story. We'll have to tell more of this story later if we gather our courage and make it all the way up to Montserrat.
Well, we will. We will. That's the goal. And when you're on a pilgrimage, you don't stop short of the goal.
That's right. Our Lady awaits us. Go to www.powerfulplaces.com or www.powerfulplaces.info to learn more about us, Elyn Aviva and Gary White, and our travels.